Okay, cool. I founded Career Benders almost 6 years ago. And in the process of growing my own career services business, what I have found is that I love the business of career services and the business of coaching. If I admit it, probably more than I like coaching and resume writing and career services as a practice, which is why this is my favorite thing to talk about. If any of you have ever met me at Rising Professionals, you probably know that. And I get so excited for PBA and Build Your Business. And I've been missing, like, we're between cohorts right now, and it's like my favorite hour of the week. And so I'm like, so what we're going to do today is just give you a little overview of Build Your Business. But really, my goal here is to give you some food for thought when it comes to building your own career coaching, resume writing business. And I see some familiar faces, but I see some new names. And I see a lot of white text and black screens. And I will just tell you, as this virtual speaker, it's nice to see faces. So anybody that wants to come on screen would be great. If you are just listening in, that's totally okay. But there are some opportunities to interact here. So the first thing I want to know is who's in this room, because it helps me understand kind of how to frame a lot of these things we're going to talk about based on kind of who's here, where you are in your business. So whether you want to just tell me where you are in your business or you want to throw the little emoji in there, I'd love to know if you're like really new to business and you're like basically at that pre-launch or just at launch. Maybe you are past that, you've launched, you have a few clients, but you're ready to grow, or maybe you're established and you want to scale. I would love for you to just kind of throw something in chat that gives me an idea of where you are in your business right now. So go ahead and do that, and I'll tell you just a little bit more about Career Benders, and me, while you guys tell me about you. So I would say the Reader's Digest version of my career is I actually started I started my career as a civil engineer. I knew in college it was not what I wanted to do. I am way too extroverted to be an engineer, but I stuck it out and I did it anyway. And I actually practiced for the first like 7 years of my career as an engineer. And that's what gave me the opportunity to transfer from the East Coast to Colorado, which for me is a huge, like, pivotal moment in my life and career. And I did all of that right when the Great Recession hit in the fall of 2008. Like, I'm talking like by a number of days. I think I moved here on September 3rd and Lehman Brothers crashed on the 11th or something like that. And I stuck it out for a little while, but then I experienced my first career change, and I had no plan. I had no safety net. I just went for it. And I think a lot of that kind of defines how and informs how I coach people who are just even changing jobs or careers now. I spent 7 years very unexpectedly in the nonprofit sector, where I stumbled in there. Never had that on my radar. And I ended up being an executive director for about 4.5 years, which is where the entrepreneurial spirit came out of me, and why so many things over the previous 10 to 15 years of my career didn't ever come together and didn't make sense. And so coming out of that experience, I knew I wanted to start a business. I wanted it to be in the coaching or consulting space, and Career Benders was born. I came across the career specialty in 2018 as it was rising. And I'm like, yep, I have a perspective there. And I just put my opinions out, and very, like, I would say, in a way, organically and without an Angie in my corner, figured out how to grow a business in this space. And that's when I really kind of figured out that I love the business of all of this even more. And I am so excited to see a lot of you are really stepping into this. You're newer to business, even maybe pre-new to business, or shifting from something maybe a little bit informal into something more concrete. And so you are all in the right place, because that's exactly what this is for. And I want you to also know that I'm a big open forum person. So at any point, if I'm talking about something and you want to provide input or you have a question, feel free to throw it into chat. You can raise a little hand if you actually want to say something. You don't have to just sit there and listen to my talking head for the next 50 minutes, even though that's what I'm going to do, right? So I'm happy you're all here, and thank you for just investing this hour in you and your business, and hopefully we'll get to invest more and make the most of it. So let's get into this. So I want you to think about, get your little dreaming hat on, maybe close your eyes and think about, what if you could change other people's lives and your own at the same time. Just think about that for a second. What if this business had the ability, because in career services, this is what we do, we change lives. And while that sounds really big and a little intimidating, I forget that sometimes. And then somebody will say that to me because they have an amazing outcome or they built their confidence or they did something they wouldn't do had we not been in their corner supporting them. And they're like, you are in the business of changing lives. And I want all of you to realize that. But if you take certain steps and you build a business in a certain way, it can also end up changing your life as well. And this is why I get so passionate about entrepreneurship and the power that it has, because it did this for me. So my quick anecdote is my husband Jim and I lived in a tiny house in a bus for 4 years while I was growing Career Benders. We moved into it in the fall of 2018 and we lived in it until July of last year when I bought us a house. And we live in the mountains of Colorado where a house is not cheap, which is why we lived in a bus so that we could consolidate our finances. But ultimately, we would not be able to achieve some of our life milestones we had I not dove into this business full force and drove it to the potential that I kind of knew it had. And I really want to encourage you to do the same. It doesn't have to be by a house size. It can be whatever you want it to be. But entrepreneurship can be very stable. It can be very predictable. It can be very sustainable as a career option and as a financial system if you take certain methods to build that. And I think a lot of people have an assumption that it's not stable. And that's kind of where I come in to be like, nope, you can build this into whatever you want it to be, whether it's always a side hustle, whether it's a side hustle that I like to call a part-time job that's going to become your full-time career one day, whether it's a retirement plan, or whether you want it to be as big as it can possibly be. But I want you to really imagine what it would be like to impact others' lives while creating that future that you dream of, right? Because this is what it could look like. So, did I skip a slide? No. So I want to see, raise your hands, chime in chat. Who would love to get more clients, right? Who feels like getting clients is a challenge to building what they want and impact, right? And then who would just like to make more money? Or who wants to just, let's say, get this thing off the ground for some of you? But then also the idea of like building wealth, right? I see lots of like, right? This is why we're here. And here's the thing, it's all possible. So this is a growth trajectory. I took the numbers out, but I hope this is, I guess I can come close to adding 23 to this, but this is the first 5 years of Career Benders growth and scaling. And for the most part, this is what I would consider organic growth. It is Angie pushing her prices and her client load in whatever way you want to that maximum earning potential before getting into, like, let's say, product scalability and the one-to-many kind of opportunities. So that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7x growth over year one. That's about right, if I think about it. Yeah, actually a little bit more. So to think about what you're doing right now and 7x it. Do the math. 7 times whatever you made so far this year. What would that do for you? What would that do for you? And how many people would you get to impact if you got to that point, right? And I'm going to share a couple other case studies from people that have gone through Build Your Business who I think have great outcomes, just to kind of inspire you into this business and whether you do the program or not. So I'll share those in a minute. And so what we get into is, if you want to make more money, you want to have more leads, you want to be more comfortable selling, you can increase your leads and conversions. Like, imagine if this was all easy, getting more leads, converting more of them in a streamlined sales process that doesn't feel icky and converts at a really nice high level so that you can maximize, here comes your first ridiculous Angie term, your roadie. And I made this up the first time I did this webinar this time last year, because it is, hold the phone, roadie, your return, the return on your time, the return on your return on your investment of time plus the impact that generates, right? So what's tricky in career services is you don't have a tangible product with which to resumes kind of, but a resume is developed through your time, right? So time is our commodity, time is our cost of a good sold. And so the only way in order to evaluate your return on the investment of time you put into your business or you put into a client is to say, okay, what's this hourly breaking down? If it takes me 6 hours to write a resume and I'm charging $240, I'm making $40 an hour. Am I happy with that? But then there's also the outcome of impact that comes from that can maximize all of this stuff. Because if that person gets a job from that resume, you probably now can charge more. So your return on investment of time is increasing. And then on the front end of the business, bringing those people into the fold is also a way to kind of maximize your return on your time and investment in the non-money making part of acquiring clients, right? So what we're talking about here is converting leads at a higher rate. So saving time and saving that non-paid activity to bring more clients in and or bring more higher value clients in where the results can be even better and your value per client is greater, so that you're then increasing what we call the per client spend. And I'm going to show you some stats on this in a minute that I think will kind of give this a tangible some tangibility, because ultimately this is where you improve the profitability. And I want to take a step back here for a second and say, I know all of us are in career services because we want to have that impact, because we want to support our clients in job searches or whatever it is. However, you are still a business person and need to put food on your own table, need to build stability, and need to balance the fact that we're in a service-based business, but we're also business people. And so while some of this is just like, okay, how do I charge more and work less? There is also a certain amount of improved quality of service that comes from that. So it's not icky to do these kinds of things. And ultimately, if you improve your profitability, you improve your time is your material element here. If you improve your profitability, you potentially could work with more clients because you're not taking as much time doing some of these non-money generating things. Or you might be able to be more selective on working with who you want. And I'm going to get into kind of a few tips on how we do this in the front end. Because as far as build your business go, I would say this is like 2/3 of the MO is how do I generate leads and how do I generate interest from the right people? How do I sell them? And how do I optimize all of these activities in order to build a business that's going to be solvent? There are some of that front end, a lot of that comes back to front end foundations, how you are presenting your solutions, which is what we're getting into a second, where you market, and also business foundations. So for a lot of you that are new, that's the first third. We build all that foundation. This is the meat that then creates that sustainability and consistency in business, so that you're maximizing your return on your return on time, investment, and impact, right? You're maximizing that roadie. So here's an example with numbers. This is somebody from the first Build Your Business cohort. And we ran a year-over-year comparison, I think at the end of Q2. So these numbers are like 2 months old, so we haven't updated them. However, there was a 67% increase in this resume writer's overall income, a 42% increase in a per client value. All right. So what that means is if a client was paying $100 before, they're now paying $142. So that means that theoretically you can do 42% less work and make the same amount of money. So you're able to increase the price of your services, which then gives you more flexibility around how much you work. And that's a continual cycle that you may improve, or you might keep the work the same while increasing, and now you're generating more revenue, or you might be somewhere in between. But these are the kinds of things that we try to support, because the reason this particular writer was able to generate these kinds of outcomes is we moved from like a la carte offering to multi-point solutions. And this is where I get really excited because I'm a big fan of solutions, solutions, solutions. Package, package, package. If any of you know, you guys all know Stephanie Rank. She laughs anytime she hangs out with me. She's like, you just talk about packages all day long. And it's because it helps the entire sales cycle. So from the very first thing, what we want to do is increase leads and increase the right leads. So diversifying your sources. If you rely on one place to get leads, if it's all referrals, you can't control that. If it's all LinkedIn, they change the damn algorithm. We all know how that feels. Paid to play type stuff. Okay, well now I'm just paying out the nose. So you have to kind of diversify your sources across different types that either you can control or not control. So you're mixing it up, and that bring different types of clients, or require different types of input from you. So that's a big area that we get into and build your business, because you also do want to build referral partnerships, whether that's clients, former clients referring work, or whether it's me referring somebody to Lori because I know she serves a niche that I don't, right? So this is a really great referral network as well. LinkedIn, I'm sorry, is just a game changer, and you need to be on it and you need to be leveraging it. And I committed, I would say about 6 or 7 months ago, I recommitted to just being really consistent with LinkedIn content creation and engagement. And it has drastically changed my lead generation and my kind of thought leadership and perception for the better. And I have seen that after a few months of doing that, the quality of the lead I'm getting and the quality of the inquiries is higher and more aligned with who I want to attract. So there's a lot of residual that can come from that kind of exposure as well. And then the other thing I'm a big fan of is knowing your numbers. Because if you're going to put resources, whether they're time or their advertising investment or whatever it is, into generating leads, you want to know what provides the best return and the highest conversions. Because if you have referrals from other clients, you'll convert those at a much higher level than you would a cold lead from something like a Thumbtack. At LinkedIn, same thing. It's kind of like nice and warm, not even lukewarm, because people feel like they can know, like, and trust you. And you want to kind of have an idea of how those work, because then if a business is low, you're like, okay, well, I know this is my highest conversion rate channel. I'm going to turn it up. So it all starts with kind of like, how do you build a business foundation? How do you brand that to speak to the niche you want to serve? How do you get in front of those leads through these kind of diversified tactics? And then once they're on the phone, you've got to sell. And I want to know how many of you just went, ugh. Who did it? Who goes, ugh, I don't like selling? Because this I find is the plight. Thank you for admitting it, Aaron. This right here. And there's a reason I always focus this kind of webinar on the actual idea of selling, because everything else is for naught if you can't close the people that you're bringing to you based on your niche, your brand, how you've packaged your stuff, and all the things. And where I really focus and am a huge proponent is setting up a foundation and a system that makes you not feel like you're selling. Because this, I think, is the number one hang up of coaches finding success and consistency in their business and in their revenue generation. And it's because they just don't like to sell. Here's the thing. You can become a total sales rock star if you set up yourself for success. And this is where package, solutions come in. Michelle brings up a good point about the pricing. Pricing, I'm just going to tell you all, newsflash, pricing will be the bane of your existence for the rest of your life as a career services professional and entrepreneur. Anything in that coaching, consulting, where you're taking your IP and creating some sort of like product or offering from it, is extremely hard to price. And you will find everything from $40 to $40,000 or $4,000 for a resume right now, and everything in between. There's actually potentially two things in that statement, Michelle, that I'm interested to kind of break down. One is like the overselling, but then also maybe pricing yourself too high. Those might be two different things. And if we address one, the other one might be okay. Right. So I have lots and lots of questions I probably won't get into today, but pricing is kind of a byline of this program, and how we figure out how to get you started at a reasonable point that isn't underpriced, because a lot of people will do that, but isn't so ridiculous you're going to convert 1 out of 10. Because you also don't want that. You want repetition, you want sales calls under your belt so you can find your shtick and get clients. So that's why it's like there's a giant gray area. It's almost all gray with a little fine white line and a little fine black line. And we just figure out where you should live in it. But here's the foundation I like to build to be able to even determine what a realistic starting point looks like. So selling, I'm still going to word the word. I'm going to say I need to take sell out. I need to cross it out and put the word deliver solutions to problems to your clients. Packages are usually a better return on investment and higher client value. Like that case study I showed you where it went straight from that resume writer. Anytime somebody would get on the phone and they would say, hey, I would need a resume, he would go straight to a resume intake during a sales call and just go straight through resume talk. And then he was like, how come I'm not selling any coaching? And I'm like, because you are eliminating the opportunity to even talk about coaching, because you're just going straight to resumes. You're not hearing what other problems they may have. In fact, you're letting them just say, I need a product, I need a resume, versus saying, wait, let's back up. I'm going to guide this sales call and hear what your problems are, so then I can sell a package solution that then basically removes the objections from it, because you have made it so easy for them to buy. You've made it so easy for them to self-qualify into it, because you are listening to them and inquiring about what else they might be able, they might need. So I need a drink, and then I'm going to give you the 1-minute version of a 30-minute sales call. So when somebody calls me, the first thing I say is, hey, I don't say like, hey, do you need a resume? I go, hey, tell me a little bit about your career. So I am right off the bat listening to them. We all know how much people like to talk about themselves, and very few people ever feel truly heard, which is a big part we play in their lives. Tell me what's happening. Bring me up to speed. And they'll walk you through. Sometimes it will be an 18-minute dissertation that begins at conception. Most of the time, it's a more realistic timeline, and that'll usually brings you to current. And then I'll say, okay, tell me what you're trying to do. What's next? And they'll talk about their job search goals. And sometimes I'll throw in, okay, well, it sounds like you've already been job searching. Tell me about the outcomes. Or I'll dig around. It's 20 minutes of Q&A to assess where they're at. And then what I get to do is say, okay, where do you feel like you need help? I'm not telling them yet. I'm letting them tell me. And what ends up happening is most of these people will come to your door with a resume project. And then you have the ability to educate them to a range of options and add-ons that you may provide, even if you are only a writer, add on LinkedIn, right? So by saying, where do you need support? They're going to go, well, I have a really hard time telling my story. I really need a good resume. Okay, cool. We can definitely nail your resume, get you good application materials, get your LinkedIn profile updated so you feel good about that personal brand. Where else do you need support? What else? 2 words. What else? What else or where else do you feel like you need help? So I am assuming they need more than a resume. And I would tell you 9.7 times out of 10, they will self-qualify themselves into a package solution, because they will say, I either don't know how to find jobs, I don't know how to network, or I need help interviewing. And as soon as they say any one of those, I sell them into a program. I write very few one-off resumes. I put everybody into a program because I've designed a package that is the total solution to all job seeker pain points. And now it becomes an easy thing to sell, because I'm not selling it. I'm saying, okay, here's how I'm going to fix your problem. Here's how I'm going to generate an outcome. I'm not selling. I am delivering them a solution to a problem they just told me they had. So it completely reframes a sales conversation, a sales call, into a conversation about where they're stuck and how you help. They can decide whether they want to buy that solution at the price point you present. This is really like, I'm going to say, where we start the first 2 or 3 weeks of Build Your Business is all about identifying those niches, figuring out their problems and designing your solutions to them so that we can go generate leads and convert them when they come in and make the whole thing feel a whole lot less icky. How's that sound? Wouldn't it be cool to just be like, yeah, here's a solution. Here's what it's going to cost you. And they're going to be like, sweet, you're going to fix all my problems for that amount of money. I am in. Right. And it makes you feel a lot better because you've turned the call around. And instead of making it about you, when you're in a sales conversation, have you ever gotten that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach? You're like, well, I'm gonna hurl as I tell them my price. That will go away as soon as you turn this around and say, here's how I serve you, here's how I help you. I am making this call about you and not about me needing to make a sale because I don't know when my next deposit's coming in and I don't know how I'm gonna buy groceries next week because I haven't gotten a new client. That will all fall away. And you turn this around, make it about them, and it becomes a lot less icky and a lot higher conversions. So yay. And here's a case study for that. This is the third case study. It's the last one of the day. So this was a coach who had tried to start selling programs, but wasn't confident in how to explain them. And so we built that confidence and built that kind of, let's say, very organic script to get started. And this is what happened because of it. They had a single month sales increase. It was actually January, which is usually our biggest month of the year, of 144%. They're almost 50% up in year over year earnings so far, and their per client value has gone up 25%. So again, we see maximizing the value of one person so that you have options in how many people you work with. And the other thing I'll tell you is, and this gets into like, Michelle, your pricing plight. A lot of this depends on niches you serve, the level of clientele that you want to provide solutions to, because there's also value in perception. If you want to coach executives, you have to put a price tag on yourself that makes an executive feel like you're worthy, right? Because if you're a lot cheaper, they're going to assume it's almost like salary negotiations, right? If you put the damn number in that field in an application and it's $100K under their going rate for the role, they're going to think you're immediately underqualified. But you also don't want to be 100K over. They're going to think you're too expensive. Giant gray area, little white, little black line. But there is a sweet spot in there to get started. And it really begins with who are you serving and what prices align with all that kind of stuff. And this is where we get into that maximizing your client value. So this is where you also build, I love this because you build relationships here and not products. So remember, moving away from that resume as a product, I'm just going to transactionally sell it to you kind of idea, hearing, listening, build the know, like, and trust factor, and sell solutions, deliver solutions that show you care about kind of an outcome. That will build a relationship that will bring that client back to you in 2 or 3 years when they decide to do another job search and they want an update. And it will also encourage them to, be a little bit of a champion for you, whether it's engaging on LinkedIn, whether it's sending clients your way. You will begin to build true clients and not customers. And there's a big difference between those two words in my mind and how those people engage in your world as an entrepreneur. And you want clients. You want to maximize the client value they're paying you, but you want to maximize your value to them so that you really are in the business of building relationships and not just writing resumes, even if that's what you do. And you can still package all of that stuff in a way that presents those solutions to their problems. I'm saying that again because it's not a typo. And then also know your numbers, not a typo. Because to go back to this, like my solutions, soapbox, high horse, whatever you want to call it, broken record, whatever one you want to apply to it, I find a lot of people who will start with, I want to have this, I want to have X business. And in a way, this is what I did because I didn't have somebody to guide me through this. So I learned this kind of on the fly, and I want to cut growth time off of you by not having to do this. I was like, okay, I want to be a career coach. I knew I wanted to help people change careers. But in several months of talking to people in that mission, I found that most people just need help with the damn job search and they can't figure out all of the moving parts. And then that a resume is like a key component to it. And so that's when I was like, okay, here's all these job seeker problems. I have the ability to kind of solve or support. Now I can assemble this into a packaged solution that became the sweet spot and the game changer for the business. That will look different for all of you. However, that's why I get really hung up on this, because a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of people say, I just want to start a business because I want to do X, which is almost like step 3, because you can't understand how to do that until you know who you want to do it for, how you're going to solve whatever that problem is. Then here's how I do it. And because most people start over here, they end up running around all of this part like I did, or they never hit any kind of consistency because they never take the time to identify that. And then they try to be all things to all people instead of having some sort of core focus. And you've all heard the saying, if you try to be everything to everyone, you will be nothing to no one. And while younger entrepreneurs fear that focus, you need it so that you're not diluting your message. But we've got to start and figure out who you want to message it to, so that we can build all of this kind of from that foundation. And so I get really kind of niche. I talk about it kind of all the time. And it doesn't mean it's like the size of a dime or that it's one thing, but it's kind of a core focus. You'll attract people from outside that core focus, but it's where you put your energy into kind of like marketing, content creation, and building awareness. And all of this is kind of how you build this ecosystem of relationships that will create a residual return outside of that one engagement, packages, programs, or solutions, however you want to say it, that become easy for you to present so that you don't feel like you're selling. So that ultimately what we're doing is generating outcomes that create testimonials that increase your value. All of that means you'll get higher quality leads, and you will have to therefore do fewer sales calls because you'll have higher conversion. And all of that maximizes your return on investment of time and the impact that you're generating for the people that you serve. Case in point, and some of this also, like some of the other stuff we get into build your business, because I'm going to talk about it just so you can understand how it looks and how we get further into this overview I've given you, is we also get into like time management, some tech systems, and the stuff that's going to support your business of coaching, in addition to that marketing focus program and packaging the actual coaching itself. And the case in point I'll give you is that in 2020, this business blew up. And I mean that in a good, it probably in a positive, but it had some fallout ways. It kind of blew up overnight. And it was interesting because in like February, before the whole world changed and the P word that I have removed from my vocabulary happened, I was just starting to get busy enough that I'm like, I got to start figuring some stuff out here. And then everybody in the world came to my door wanting to change careers because they hated what they did and they needed to do something better before the world ended. And I didn't have good mechanisms and controls in place to kind of throttle client intake. I would just take them. And I was working like 70 hours a week. And I can tell you right now, I made a shit ton of money and the business grew 3 times that year. However, I really did a number on myself over the course of 6 to 8 months working like that. And so a lot of this is also about maximizing the value of a client to maximizing the value you give them, while also building a sustainable business, both from a financial consistency perspective, but a maintainable business for you as the human behind it. Because the last thing you want to do is grow unsustainably. We've seen lots of businesses do that only to just go poof. And Michelle, you're kind of right, is that I was not a great coach then. Sometimes and luckily I do have some people who come back to me from that point from that period of time, and they'll like want a resume update, and I open them and I'm like, oh my God, what was I doing? Right? Like I know my work was not up to snuff because I was stretching myself too thin in order to kind of be too much to too many people. And then what happened is it took about 6 months, close to a year, to kind of tail that off. So I went from I was working 6 days a week. There were a few days where I saw 13 clients. Now they weren't all full meetings, but they were maybe halfers, but still 13 people in a day, whether you have to talk to them for a half an hour or an hour, is a lot, even for an extreme extrovert. And it took a while to pare that down in a way that I could maintain income without having to see so many clients, right? So you kind of just keep doing this with the pricing and the workload. until now. Now I get to work 4 days a week. I have 3-day weekends and it's fantastic, right? I need those 3 days to recover, but I needed to get all these systems and the pricing and the packages and the niche in place in order to be able to do kind of this thing. And this is the kind of stuff we get into and build your business. So now I get to give you my sales pitch. All right. So first thing I want to make you aware of is we have a discount code in place right now. Angie 10 will get you 10% off the program cost. So grab that while it's hot, because I would love for you to all be here. It's like I said, it's my favorite my favorite hour of the week. So here's what we focus on and build your business. The last kind of 40 minutes of me spieling is me giving you tidbits of things to think about as you grow your business, but also core elements that I like to bring into this program to help you understand that business of coaching. And that can be even from like a fundamental operating standpoint of, do I need business insurance? Or how do I keep my contacts in order? And all of that very like kind of foundational system-y stuff that any business needs, but also how that applies to us as coaches in pricing and packaging and all that kind of stuff that helps us overcome the fear of selling. Point 3, to generate more consistent income. And in the middle there, figuring out your lead channels in order to kind of build this ecosystem that's nice and consistent and reliable. Because what I'll say is there's this thing I call, it's the entrepreneurial mind leap. I'll stop my swearing at the F-bomb. You're welcome, Margaret. But it's it's a roller coaster. There is no better exploration into self-discovery than entrepreneurship. And it can be an emotional roller coaster, especially if you get really caught up in like, where's my next client? I haven't gotten paid. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But if you're able to find a consistent baseline within that kind of ups and downs, it becomes a lot more sustainable for you emotionally, but then also the financial stability and the financial sustainability and consistency tends to fall into place. And really that's what Build Your Business is about. It is helping you overcome your own challenges in building a business, embracing the business of coaching to have a really consistent lead generation, conversion, financial revenue model that's designed around your unique value proposition in this world. Oh, thank you, Megan. We'll address that. So I'm going to answer that in a question. So here's Boost Your Business. You can scan this QR code for details. We are starting on Wednesday, October 18th. Look at it. It's there too. Crap. It's been on Tuesdays, the last 2 cohorts. So we're moving it to Wednesdays so that it could potentially open it up for people that have conflicts on Tuesdays. So it's every Wednesday, starting October 18th, 4 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Eastern. We tend to meet for about an hour and 15 minutes, but the program delivery usually lasts for about an hour and 15 minutes, but there's usually a good 15 minutes of chatter and Q&A. So you're going to want to allocate about an hour and a half each week. And then I'm a big homework fan, even with coaches. So you'll have activities to do each week in between so that you're progressing towards kind of our next milestone. And you'll also have I assign power partners after the first week and after I get to meet everybody. So you'll kind of have an accountability partner, somebody to bounce ideas off of, a colleague and a friend, who hopefully you'll build a great relationship as you go through the program and as you are in business. Because I'll tell you, one of my favorite aspects of a program like this is that kind of mastermind and power of the group mentality, because this business is way better shared. And that's what you'll begin to do, is to build, even if you're all doing the same thing, a non-competitive environment to collaborate and support each other. Because it's huge, especially when this starts happening, right? And I think I messed up that next week, that 6/5. I just completely spaced on this slide. I updated the 18th and did nothing else. So we also do a foundations course on the front end that we would do the week before, which is optional. But it's basically going through my checklist of here's all the things you need to, like, one-time to-do items to build your operating foundation, from LLCs and incorporation to bank accounts to like websites and just all that kind of like businessy stuff. So there is a foundations class that will happen 1 week before for any of you that feel like you're really new to business or want to just review where you're at to make sure you've kind of covered all your bases. I'm going to go back. I just like totally spaced on updating that last slide, I think. Here's your code. I don't know if the Angie 100 is still active. If you try it and it works, hey, cool, you got a bonus. But I know this one is active and it'll get you 10% off Wednesdays starting October 18th with that optional, the optional one the week before for foundations. And, you know, my goal for you is to come out of this program feeling like you've got a really clear focus on who you serve, how you serve them, and where you want your business to go and grow. So I want to know what questions I can answer, whether it's actually about build your business or whether it's just questions about business in general. You've got me for another 15 minutes. So captive audience, chat away if there's stuff I can answer either about the program or about coaching business in general. Who's got stuff?
In Build Your Business, do you teach how to create email lists or
Yes.
how to build and grow it?
Yeah. So we talk about, so part of there's several modules on marketing and content creation. And as part of the marketing kind of plan, email is a strategy. And so as part of that, I talk about different like list builders, clickbaity stuff. We'll get very lightly into some funnels. I'm a huge fan of email marketing. It is somehow still a thing and works, and it's something all of you should be doing. We even get into different options and as far as technologies on how to manage all that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Who else? I have a new message. Yes, Michelle. So yeah, that's part of the foundations piece. Michelle asked about like the legal stuff, like contracts and all that kind of stuff. Yes. I've even shared mine with the previous cohorts because I had an attorney review it. So that's something we get set up in that front end too. And even if you don't do that first foundations course, you'll still have access to all the resources from it if you just want to go through the checklist and make sure that you're all up to snuff. And then Catherine, I would say yes, this is totally suitable to you in the UK. The only things that are going to be different are some of that upfront legal stuff about setting up a business. But when it comes to lead generation, marketing, packaging, presenting solutions, it's all very, very parallel. And because I've worked with clients in the UK, both business clients and career coaching clients. So that is something that I feel everything will be relevant to you, except for maybe two tiny things that we can fill in the gaps on. Agnes, yes, the whole tax thing, it's small because I'm not a CPA. However, in that upfront foundations piece, we talk about how to do your accounting, your different like expense tracking and everything like that. And I have some resources and some like spreadsheets I give you. And then we also talk about different tech systems that can help you manage that component too. Erin, did you have another question?
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Okay. I saw you come off mute. That's why I didn't know. Anybody else? Any takers? Any takers? I'm going back through the intros to see if there's anything I want to like jump. Oh, there's a message. Okay. You're welcome, Agnes. I feel like I have a bunch of ladies. How fun would it be? Not that we're going to make it exclusive, but how fun would it be for us to have a big old ladies cohort, huh? I love it. Yeah, exactly. It would be fun. So, no, this is great. So, just a couple reminders. You've got that coupon code. If you scan the QR code here, it'll take you to the site. Reach out to, if you haven't already, connect with me on LinkedIn. I can go back to the very first slide and give you my QR code, or you can just go find me. I'm sure I will pop up and be connected to 12,000 other people you are. And so reach out to me individually if you have questions either about the program or if there's any way I can support you as a coach and a colleague in this business. I would love to. And I would love to see all of your faces when we kick this thing off. It is Wednesdays on October 18th. I'll get that one error on the website updated. We of course we copy edited all that and changed it and missed a day. Um, but if you have any questions about anything at all that I can help with, I welcome you to reach out to me individually. And I would love to have you all in the next group of Build Your Business. And I appreciate you all coming today. I'll hang out for another minute or two if there's any last questions, and Margaret will take us home.
That's right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We were excited to see everybody. I was to see Aaron on the call. And Angie, thank you so much for explaining the program. I bet I know some of those case studies from Build Your Business. So I bet I know some of those people personally. So that's exciting, and appreciate you being here, everybody. Especially appreciate your questions. One of the reasons you're a part of an association is to connect with peers and colleagues like Angie, like Michelle and Aaron and Agnes and everybody who's been on the call today. Reaching out, making those connections, it can make the difference, not just for you, but for all of your peers. And that's why we're here. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Angie. Love to see that certification in the background, ma'am. All right, everybody, unless you've got something else for Angie in the next 1 minute, we're good to go. And I want everybody to have a great day. Make sure that you're reaching out to the association, to everybody in the association who can help build your business. Thanks, everybody.